What's up, YouTube? Dylan here with Dylan's Home Espresso Bar. Today we are going to be looking at milk frothing. So a lot of people are really struggling with texturing their milk and getting that really nice latte art or that really nice microfoam for their latte art. So today we are going to be going over that. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow and allows me to buy more coffee equipment for you guys, for me to review. Also, if you guys are already subscribed, welcome to the channel. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. This is the brand new setup. It is still a work in progress with lighting and stuff like that. So we're just gonna be playing around. So make sure to just bear with me. And if you guys have any kind of tips that you can give me for the lighting, make sure to leave it down in the comments below. It really helps me. So again, today's video is on Milk Tutorial 101. So this could be if you're a beginner or even if you've had your machine for a while, but you're just really struggling getting that perfect milk texture for your latte art, or even just for a milk-based beverage and you're not even trying to attempt latte art. So this has nothing to do with latte art, just getting that built, that base, for you to pour that perfect latte. So today we are going to be looking at the board. I've already drew the diagrams, and once we finish with kind of the tutorial in the back here, we're gonna head off into the other studio and I'm going to actually froth some milk for you guys. So make sure to stay tuned. Again, if you guys are watching, thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you guys' support and just enjoy the video. So today is going to be on milk frothing. So we have our basic pitcher here. This is a 580 milliliter pitcher. It's a little bit bigger than your average pitcher, but I wanted a big one so I can just show you guys the inside. We are going to be using chopsticks today, just one of them. And this is going to be the steam arm or the steam wand. And I'm gonna kind of show you guys and guide you guys on how to froth your milk. So I did draw a diagram over here. And in this diagram, it's just frothing milk 101. So we're gonna go ahead and just go over the basic steps here. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit, and then we're actually gonna go ahead and put all of these words into action. Now, I am going to be making multiple videos on this to really help you guys nail that milk texture. So without further ado, let's get started. So with your pitcher, everyone's gonna start with a milk pitcher. If not, it's gonna really burn your hand because I don't know what else you're gonna be using. But you're gonna wanna fill the milk to the bottom of the spout. So no matter how big or small the jug, you wanna make sure that you have the appropriate jug size because you only wanna fill to the bottom of the spout. So if you guys can see, the milk should only come up to about here, which is not that much because there's still a lot of pitcher remaining. However, you're gonna need every bit of that because you're gonna have to really expand that milk in order to really froth and get really good texture with that milk. So first step, like I said, you wanna fill it to the bottom of the spout. So we are going to be kind of just replaying everything that we go over. We're gonna go over everything multiple times because I really want you guys to understand how to froth your milk. So the second step, here we have our pitcher here and it's shown, so this is just kind of like a top view angle, and it shows 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 3 o'clock with your steam wand arm. So pretty much, if you guys can see here, I'll have my wife zoom in on here. So when you are looking to froth your milk, pretty good now? So when you're looking to froth your milk, you want to make sure that your steam arm or steam wand is on the spout. So if you're a beginner, I'd strongly recommend that you start off by putting that steam wand into the spout of the pitcher because it's gonna really allow you to control that steam wand and to really get the full amount of control. Now, if you are more than a beginner, you're more advanced, then I would say that you could go off the side here. But just as a beginner, you wanna make sure you wanna start in that spout because there is a divot and it just allows for that nice pivot here. So now that you're here, you wanna make sure that you want to go either 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock when you put your steam wand in here. And the reason for that is if you are on 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock, whichever way you prefer, it is going to really allow for that milk rotation, which is going to be important later on in the process. So again, you want to either be at 9 or 3 o'clock in the pitcher. and you want to rest that steam arm or steam wand in that spout for more control. So looking back over here, you see that placement is everything. So you're going to see here the diagram that just kind of splits the two parts in half right here. And you want to make sure that you're in the middle. You're not going to want to be all the way to the actual side of the pitcher, because it's not giving, when you're all the way to the side here, you're not giving any room for that steam to kind of rotate in that pitcher. So if it's all the way against here, it's just going to bounce off here and just go everywhere. As opposed to if you're right off the side like this, then it's going to allow for it to kind of rotate around in that pitcher when you are frothing your milk. So here it is time to steam. So you always want to make sure you start off by purging your steam wand. What does purging your steam wand mean? Well, purging your steam wand is just turning that steam wand on to get rid of that leftover water that's been sitting in that steam wand or steam arm overnight or since the last time you frothed milk. So you always want to make sure you purge your steam wand before and after for the best results and to keep your machine clean. So with that being said, you want to just place that steam wand in the jug. So once you purge, you get rid of all that water that's been left over inside the steam wand. You want to make sure that you place your steam wand inside of your pitcher. Make sure that it is placed in there before you turn the steam wand back on. The problem is a lot of people, a lot of beginners will actually purge their steam wand and then they'll turn the steam on and then they'll stick their milk in there. But at that point, you're aerating way too much and you're gonna get a lot of bubbles, which are a no-go when trying to nail that milk frothing texture. So you wanna make sure that you purge that steam wand, place it in there in the spout, make sure it's on 9 or 3, whatever you're comfortable with, and then you're gonna wanna turn it on once the steam wand is in the place that you desire. So now we are going here. So if you're looking at the pitcher this way right here, you're gonna see that the steam wand is rested against the spout and it's going down and it's barely submerged in the milk. So this line, this dotted line represents where the milk would be. So the milk would be from here down, and you wanna make sure that the spout, so if this is the actual pitcher, you wanna make sure that it's just barely submerged in the milk. So as you can see here, it's just barely submerged in the milk. So again, if you're looking at it in an overhead view here, which is going to mirror the pitcher, you want to make sure again it is 9 or 3 o'clock. So this is something that you don't want to do. So let's say that the milk is right here. You don't want your steam wand to be all the way submerged in the milk, because it's really just going to heat the milk and you're not going to get that milk texture. You're not going to allow that aeration to occur inside of the jug, which means you're not going to get the texture you want. You're just going to get really hot and scalded milk with no silky milk texture. So if you look over here, you also don't want to do this as well. So in this picture, here is the milk right there, and the steam wand is obviously way above the milk line. So in other words, if the milk is right here, you don't want to have your steam wand up here, because you are going to be adding way too much air and you're not going to get that desired milk foam texture that you are going to be wanting in the long run when you're drinking your latte or whatever you decide to drink. So you want to make sure that your steam wand is in the spout, 9 to 3, and it's just submerged inside of the milk. So the steam wand touches, or the steam wand tip touches the milk, and you go a little bit further, and that's all. So that brings us to the next one. So now you are going to aerate your milk. So from the start, you want to get about 20% raise from the start of the picture. So if you have milk that's right below the spout, by the time you get done aerating or adding air to the milk, you want to make sure that your milk is now raised about 20%. So if we start here and we raise our milk, we want to be like right here when we finish. So about 20% raise, or rule of thumb, you want to be able to aerate your milk until your actual jug is sitting at room temperature. So once that jug hits room temperature, aeration is normally done. Obviously, you have to look at it to make sure that the texture is what you desire. However, if you froth your milk right and you aerate as much as you're supposed to, not hearing a screeching sound, not hearing too much roaring and bubbling going on. It's just a nice little sound of paper tearing, which I'll show you later on in the video. But you want to make sure that as soon as you hear that paper tearing, that you're feeling the pitcher until it's either raised about 20% and it gets about room temperature. So once you hit 20% and then you start getting that room temperature, now you're gonna wanna submerge that steam wand inside the milk a little bit further to incorporate all of that air that you just aerated into the milk and the pitcher, and you are now going to create a rolling kind of vortex motion that's gonna incorporate all the air into the milk so you get one solid texture. Now, this part is difficult because a lot of people struggle, especially when you pour your latte art. You get this really good looking foam, you think it's perfect. You go to pour, you either get really thick foam from the start or you get really liquidy foam, and then once you're about to finish, you get really thick foam. So you get thick foam either from the beginning or at the end, and running milk from the beginning or the end. So you wanna make sure you're incorporating all of that aeration, all of that air into the milk in a perfect uniform, so that way everything is completely solid and nice and uniform when you go to pour that milk. So now that we have that, you wanna make sure that when you finish, you're gonna feel that the pitcher is too hot to touch. So what I like to do is I kinda like to hold the pitcher on one hand, so my non-dominant hand is definitely up to you based on preference, and I like to just feel the bottom with the other hand while the steam wand is inside of the jug. So I'll kind of feel the bottom. Once it gets too hot to touch, then I'll go ahead and turn that steam wand off. So perfect temperature for milk frothing. So if you guys can see here, the perfect milk frothing temperature is 140 to 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 60 to 62.8 degrees Celsius. That is the perfect temperature for frothing milk because you don't want the milk to be too hot. You'll scold it and the beverage just won't taste good. Now, when you're making a milk-based beverage, you can pull a bad shot and still get a good tasting cup of coffee if you nail your microfoam or nail your milk texturing. Now, if you nail a perfect shot of espresso, but you scold the milk, it's gonna take away from the tastefulness of the actual overall beverage in the long run. So you wanna make sure that both components are met. Good shot of espresso and a good milk texture. So I would say milk texture is really important if you want that good tasting latte. So again, you wanna make sure that when you're doing this process, you think wet paint, kind of silky texturing. It's kind of like a glossy texture and look to it. So when you get that nice silky textured paint, wet paint look, now you know you've nailed that microfoam. So again, just to recap, you're going to take your jug and you're going to fill the milk down to the bottom of the spout. No matter how big or small, always to the bottom of the spout because you want enough room in the jug to make that process go. Then you are going to take your steam wand, rest it on the spout so you have good control moving it back and forth. Once you do that, you either want to dissect the jug, so you take your two planes here, you want to be either at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock so you get that nice rolling texture inside of the jug. You don't want to be too submerged, so if this is your milk and this is your steam wand, you want to be right there. So it's not on top. Don't do that, as you're going to add way too much air. And don't do this because you're going to just heat the milk without actually adding the texture. You want to be about here. Now, you want to be able to move the steam wand as you're frothing because as you're frothing right here, the milk's going to continue to rise. And if you keep the steam wand in the same spot, now you're just adding a little bit of air and now you're starting to heat the milk. So you kind of have to play with it as it's going. So it is a very difficult process. Don't be upset with yourself if you can't nail this on the very first try. It's gonna take some time. It took me quite a bit of time to really realize what was going on in the jug. So you wanna make sure that when you start, your steam wand is right below submerged in the milk. And as it's raising, you're raising your jug or your steam wand. So it's always coming up. Once you hit that desired 20%, now you're gonna submerge a little bit deeper, not really deep, but just a little bit deeper about there. So this is where you start, this is where you're gonna finish. Now you're going to really incorporate, you don't wanna be too close to the sidewall of the pitcher because then you're not going to get that really good rolling texture you need to texture that milk perfectly. So you want to stay off into the center points, which are here and here, which are 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and it's kind of on 3 or 1/3 of the pitcher right here. So you're going to want to make sure that you start off by adding, hearing that paper tearing sound, which I'll show you here later in the video. And then you want to make sure once it gets to room temperature and you've added enough air, about 20% of the pitcher, you're going to submerge that steam wand, and then you're going to get that nice rolling motion to incorporate all of that together. And when it's too hot to touch, you're going to go ahead and let off the steam. And then you're going to want to have a nice finishing. So you're just going to give that jug a little tap, and then you're going to want to just swirl it around. So by tapping the jug, you're going to release any kind of air pockets that are going to be in the milk from frothing. If you do this perfectly, you're not going to have too many air bubbles. But if you are just starting out, you may have a little bit more bubbles than necessary. So just go ahead and give that jug a couple taps. Not too hard, just nice and light. Then once you see all those bubbles kind of disperse, you're going to want to go ahead and finish it off by just swirling it and really incorporating that microfoam just for that last little touch-up step before you go ahead and pour that perfect milk. So with that being said, we are going to now go into my other setup, and we are going to be showing you live how to texture your milk. I'll go ahead and froth 2 different kinds of milk in the picture so you guys can get a good explanation. So I'm going to go ahead and froth that now. So if you guys are watching this pre-recorded, you can go ahead and skip this until we get to the machine. However, I do have to transfer over to the next setup. So my wife's going to take that off of the tripod and she's going to follow me along. Let's go to our other setup. If you guys are new to the channel, again, I thank you guys so much. You guys are absolutely amazing, and if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. I'm doing all this for you guys and for me because I get to enjoy some good quality coffee. But if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe. I appreciate all of you guys. Let's get to milk texturing. So first step, we're going to go ahead and use our standard Breville Milk Jug. You're going to want to come over any milk of choice. However, if you guys are starting off, I would highly recommend whole milk. You can buy this from anywhere. It's just your ordinary whole milk. It is going to be easier with more fats and sugar content to really get that milk frothing down perfect. So again, if you want to get a close up in here, we are going to see here, that is the bottom of the spout. Let me go ahead and just turn on that light so you guys can get a better view. All right, so just so you guys can get a better view in the picture, right there is where we are going to want to pour our milk. So we're going to go ahead and pour our milk to the bottom of the spout, which is right there. And we are going to start the process. So if you want to come over on this side, we are going to be using the Breville DualBoiler because this is a little bit faster than the Barista Express, but a little bit slower than my Linea Mini. I want to be able to really show you guys the texturing, and I think this is going to work the best. So again, first step that you want to do is make sure to purge that steam wand. So you can see a lot of water coming out. You don't want that. You want to make sure that it's really dry steam. So that'll be good. All right, so here I'm going to show you if you want to get in here. Here is the steam wand. And right now we're resting up against the spout. So I would always recommend just pulling that steam wand out so it's coming down at a nice angle. Stick that pitcher straight up. It doesn't have to be all curved like this for right now. Just stick it straight in. And you don't want to, if you want to come in closer here, you don't want to be submerged like that because that's way too much. But you don't want to be up to where you're not touching the milk either because you're going to add way too much air. So again, purge that steam wand, stick it out, and then let's start our process. So if you want to get in here and show them. So again, we have it rested against their spout in the middle and then over. And right now we are going to be at 3 o'clock. So it's just submerged in the milk and we're going to get going. So you want to hear that paper tearing sound. So right now we're frothing our milk. We're adding air still. You hear the sound of paper tearing. It is almost room temperature. So once it gets to room temperature, about 20% increase in the jug, you want to go ahead and submerge it. So now you see that we have that nice rolling motion in the jug, and this is really going to incorporate that air that we just put in the milk very nicely and just kind of finish it off. And we're going to get that nice wet paint silky texture. Once it gets too hot to touch, it is when you are done. So right about there. Always make sure to purge your steam wand after you steam your milk because you want to make sure that it is nice and clean. All right, so if you guys can take a look here, it is really nice and silky. It looks like wet paint. So this is something that is really important and definitely something that you want to accomplish. So I'm just going to show you here. When you pour that in there, really nice texture here. So that is what you guys are going to want. And it's just really good texture that when this sits, it's just going to just be really nice and foamy texture there. So now we're just going to go ahead and do that one more time so I can show you guys yet again. So again, you have your pitcher. You want to raise it to the bottom part of the spout. So once you get it to the bottom part of the spout there, make sure to purge that steam wand, get rid of all that water. Make sure to rest it up against the spout of the pitcher. Put it in, barely go submerged below the milk at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And lower that pitcher till you hear that paper tearing sound. So right now you hear that paper tearing sound. Once it raises about 20% and it gets to room temperature, you're then going to lower that, submerge it deeper, and you're going to get that nice rolling motion in the milk. So right now you're seeing that it's really stirring up in there. When it gets too hot to touch, you are finished. So again, hardly any milk bubbles right there at all, because if you really nail your steaming, you are going to get really, really good results. So again, just kind of give it a tap if there's any bubbles and just kind of mix it around. And as you see, really nice glossy texture. And again, I'll go ahead and pour it into a jug so if you want to get down low. So here we go, show you guys the texture. Really nice texture right there. So if you see that, it's not even overflowing, it's just going on the top, because if you nail your milk texture, it's just gonna sit on top like a latte there, or like a cappuccino. So as you guys can see, it's not falling over because it's not really runny. So again, I thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, please consider hitting that like and subscribe. You guys are absolutely my #1 priority, and I can't wait to make more videos like this for you guys. This was a highly requested video, and I'm so glad that I could show you guys. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down in the comments below. I will answer all of your questions. I love acknowledging each and every one of you guys. No matter how much my channel grows, I will always be here for you guys because you guys are the reason I have my channel. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Dylan with Dylan's Home Espresso Bar, and this has been Milk Tutorial 101 for beginners and people who are more advanced. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.